Let's start this course by creating an elements document. This is a separate PSD that contains some typography rules, the logo, as well as button and form styling. So I have a blank document, 1300 in width, where I have a grid, a 12-column bootstrap grid, as well as a 24-pixel baseline grid. And this is what we'll use for the whole theme. On top of that, I have a logo, which I've bought from Graphic River. It's a logo designed by Layer Sky, so go ahead and grab that if you don't have it. So before we start creating any other elements, we need to create the color scheme for our website. We have a few colors, so we're going to use the swatches panel to save them. Open the color picker. We'll start with the text color. That's 2B, 2B, 2B. Click Add to Swatches, call it Text. Next up is the primary color, the primary link and button color. That is an orange, kind of an orange color, so it's going to be E5, 4D, 42. Add to Swatches, call it primary button. Next up, we have a default text color, but we also need a light text color, and that is 7A, 7A, 7A. Call it light text. Okay. Next, we'll have some elements in our page that will require a dark background. So for that, we're going to use 252E38. Add that to swatches. Call it dark BG. Now, some sections will require like a very light background. So we're going to use a very light gray on that. Something like F7, F7, F7. Add to swatches. Call it very light BG. And finally, we need a red for the error states. Error states in like form elements mostly. And that red will be D9, 23, 28. Add to swatches, error. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's focus on the typography styles. So creating a group. Let's give it a color. We'll start with a simple paragraph. We're going to paste some lorem ipsum. Okay. Now, for fonts, we're going to use two of them. It's a combination of Bitter and Source Sans Pro. You can find them both on Google Web Fonts, so they're free to use, and this combination, I think it works pretty good. So this text, the main text is Source Sans Pro. We're going to use light, 16 pixels, and also anti-alias set to sharp. The color, grab that. Also, the line height should be 24 pixels, which is 1.5 times the font size, and line spacing set to 0. Next up, the headings. So we're going to duplicate this. Okay. I'm going to say heading 1. Up to heading 6. Okay. The font will be Bitter. And I'll start by changing the letter spacing to -25. And we'll start with the heading 1. This should be 36 pixels. Bold. Let's set the line height to auto here. The next one should be 30 pixels bold. Heading 3 should be 24 pixels, regular this time. Heading 4 should be 18 pixels. Heading 5 should stay at 16 pixels, but it should be bold. And finally, heading 6, we'll use it like small caps. So make it 14 pixels, regular, but uppercase. Okay, just like that. Cool. And those are the headings. Now let's do the buttons. So creating a group. Buttons. We'll create two types of buttons. One of them is primary, which is like the main call to action button. So grab the round rectangle tool and draw a rectangle that's about 100 by 48. So the 48 pixels height, well, it matches with the baseline grid. That's why I chose 48 pixels. It matches the two rows of our baseline grid. Okay, the color, call it BG. The color should be this primary button color. Let's make it a bit longer. Add some text to it, like primary button. We'll make it white. The font, we'll go back to Source Sans Pro. It's going to be 16 pixels, bold. Okay, let's see. Letter spacing should be reset to 0. And of course, uppercase. Okay, let's position this in the middle vertically. And then we'll leave 24 pixels of padding to the left and to the right. Okay, one final touch is to add a layer effect to this, inner shadow. So we want to give the button like a 3D look. So we'll set the angle to -90 degrees, set the distance to 3, choke 0, size 0. And also the opacity, reduce it to about 20%. Okay, something like that. And the cool thing about this is we're using multiply for this inner shadow. So if, for example, I'm going to change the color of the button, the effect stays the same. Okay, this right here is the out state. Let's create the over state, the down state, and also the disabled state. Oops, over. Now the over state should, change the lightness of the background. So instead of this default color, we're going to use FF5948. So that's a touch lighter. Okay, the down state, we're going to copy that color, but remove the inner shadow effect. And also, we're going to decrease the height by 3 pixels. So when we actually click on it, it will look like it's actually being pressed. Finally, the primary disabled button will change its background to like a very light gray, something like E6, E5, E5, and change the text color to B9, B8, B8, just like that. Okay, so that is the first batch of buttons, the primary. In the next video, we'll take care of the secondary button styling and also the form styling. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.